Welcome, brave souls, to Sounds of the Unknown, the place where shadows whisper and mysteries linger in the dark corners of the world. Here, we bring you chilling tales of the unexplained, eerie encounters, and ghostly stories, some drawn from history, others from whispered truths passed down through generations. If you enjoy the kind of stories that make you question what lies beyond the veil, you're in the right place. Grab a warm drink, turn down the lights, and prepare to venture into the unknown. It was the summer of 1984 when I found myself stranded in the countryside of England. I was a young traveling salesman back then, constantly on the move, chasing sales and always looking for the next stop. My father was a man of strict routine, and he had taught me early on to push forward no matter the discomfort. "Sleep is for the weak, boy," he'd say with a gravelly tone. So I had learned to be resilient, brushing off fatigue, fear, and even common sense when necessary. That evening, after a long, fruitless day on the road, I stumbled across a decaying inn at the edge of a small village, the Hollow Moor House. It stood like a forgotten relic, its windows dark, its walls weather-beaten, as if the house itself were trying to fade into the misty moors. Now the locals had warned me. "Don't go there," they said in hushed voices. "That place is cursed, especially room 12. I laughed it off. I was young, brash, and didn't believe in ghost stories. My skepticism came from my upbringing. My mother had passed when I was 10, and my father had no patience for what he called superstition. Ghosts were for children and fools. What did I care for silly tales? All I needed was a cheap bed for the night. The innkeeper was an elderly woman, thin as a wisp, with sunken eyes and a wary demeanor. She watched me closely as I entered the inn's dim lobby. There was a strange familiarity in her gaze, like she'd seen others like me before. When I asked for a room, she hesitated, wringing her hands nervously. "Only room 12 is left," she mumbled. "Perhaps you should find somewhere else," I scoffed. "Ghosts don't frighten me, madam. I'll take it." The room was chilling, not just cold, but oppressive, as if the air itself weighed on me. The wallpaper peeled in long, sad strips, revealing rotted wood beneath. A lone window framed an endless view of fog-shrouded moors. The place reeked of damp and decay. I went to bed early, eager to sleep off my exhaustion, but that was not to be. Somewhere around midnight, I awoke to a loud thump. I sat up, heart pounding. The room was pitch black, save for a silvery shaft of moonlight that spilled through the grimy window. And then I saw it, a shadow. It stood by the window, tall, distorted, impossibly thin. I blinked hard, trying to convince myself it was a trick of the light, but the figure moved, slowly, deliberately. I couldn't breathe. My chest felt tight, as though invisible hands were pressing down on me. The shadow crept closer, its limbs elongated, unnatural, like something pulled from the depths of a nightmare. It stopped at the edge of my bed, and I swear, though it had no face, I felt it watching me. The air turned icy, and a sound, a horrible rasping voice, whispered in my ear. "Get out!" Every hair on my body stood on end. I couldn't move, paralyzed by a fear I had never known. And then, just as suddenly, the pressure lifted. I gasped, grabbing my suitcase and stumbling out of room 12, down the darkened hallway and out into the night. The innkeeper found me the next morning, shivering in my car. She didn't say much when I handed her the key, just shook her head with a look I will never forget. Years later, I returned to that village. Curiosity had gnawed at me ever since. The inn had been abandoned and condemned, but when I asked the locals what had happened, I learned the truth. "That place claimed its last guest not long after you left," an old man told me over a pint in the pub. "They found him frozen in room 12, eyes wide open, like he'd seen the devil himself. I shivered, gripping my glass. "Did they say anything else?" I asked. The old man stared into his drink. One word scratched into the floorboards. I hesitated. "What word?" He looked up, meeting my eyes. "Shadow." Well, well, dear listeners, it seems our guest escaped room 12. Barely. But remember, the Hollow Moor House still stands, waiting for its next occupant, and its shadow knows no rest. So if you dare to travel to forgotten inns or dark, misty roads, take care where you rest your head for the night. After all, some rooms have a guest list. You may not want to join. Until next time, my brave souls. Keep your lights low, your minds open, and never forget, the unknown is closer than you think.